base. We need to heal our body to be able to feel our best. So if we don't heal our body, what's going on?
Welcome to the Healthy Celiac Show. I'm your host, Belinda Whelan from belindawhelan.com, and here you will learn to live your very best life with celiac disease. So we are going to be talking all about health-related topics because you, my friend, are more than just a woman with celiac disease. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss an episode, and welcome to the show.
Welcome back and welcome to episode 3 of the Healthy Celiac podcast. This week we are talking all about what you actually need to do after you've been diagnosed with celiac disease to heal your body. Now, when I was diagnosed with celiac disease, my doctor simply said, you just need to eat gluten-free for the rest of your life. And that was all I was given. If you've listened to my previous episodes, you would have heard me talk further about how I went to a dietitian and he didn't give me any information either, which I don't expect dietitians to know too much about how to help the body heal. But, there was no information about what I needed to do to actually get my villi back into a healthy state. Now, what we need to know is what we need to do for our bodies to be at our best, because I hear it all the time. Now, this is something that I get told, this is what I see online, and it's quite sad that this is the way it is, right? So basically, you hear all of these people that have got celiac disease and they say that they cut out gluten and they don't feel any better. They still feel tired, they still feel lethargic. Some people complain that they put on an astronomical amount of weight, and other people complain that they are still very underweight and not gaining weight. Now, I think it's so important that as people with celiac disease, we need to know exactly what we need to do to be able to heal our body. Now, when I say heal, I'm not talking about recovering from celiac disease, because as you probably know by now, that's not the case. When I talk about healing, I'm talking about healing our villi and making sure that our bodies are perfectly healthy in order to absorb all the nutrients from our food that we need to be able to thrive. Okay, so this is a really awesome example that I heard quite some time ago. Now let's just pretend for a moment that you have been stabbed. You've been stabbed in the body by a knife, and you go to the hospital and the doctors remove that knife from you. Now, that's great. They've taken the knife out, but it doesn't just take that to heal, all right? Your body isn't instantly better, is it? It's going to take time to heal. You may need some stitches, and you're probably going to need a whole heap of rest and some other things to help that knife wound heal. So let's compare that to celiac disease. So you've taken gluten out of your diet. You don't automatically feel better, do you? You don't automatically go, okay, I've taken out the knife/gluten and now I'm great, I feel better. That's not the case. That is not the case. We need to heal our body to be able to feel our best. So if we don't heal our body, what's going on is we have all this major inflammation going on in our body from the damage from the gluten that we've been consuming for however long. In many people's cases, it's many years, it can be even decades. So we need to remove the gluten, and if we don't remove the gluten, obviously that inflammation doesn't have a chance to go down. Now, there's so many issues that can be linked to celiac disease that, cause our health to be even worse. And these issues, these can be caused by ongoing problems with celiac disease and continuing to eat gluten as well. So super important to cut it out. Super, super important to make sure you're not getting any gluten in your diet, because, type 1 diabetes, that is up there with one of the other issues linked to celiac disease. Arthritis, MS, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, and even psoriasis, as well as a massive increased risk in cancer. So you don't want to be dealing with those issues as well. I think compared to many of those, celiac disease is, quite minimal compared to some of those issues. I have a niece that has type 1 diabetes, and give me celiac disease any day. I feel so sorry for her, what she has to go through. It's terrible. I've had a client in the past that had ulcerative colitis, and again, just an awful, awful thing to be dealing with. So I do highly recommend that if you are having a little bit of gluten or think you're going to continue having a little bit of gluten or a cheat day, please learn a little bit more about this, because it's really, really not worth it. Okay, so back to what we need to know about how to heal our villi and get our health back on track. So the villi is where our body absorbs the nutrients from our food, okay? So to be able to heal that villi, I do highly recommend a range of supplements. I suggest you start with a digestive enzyme, definitely a probiotic, fish oil, L-glutamine, and definitely multivitamins and vitamin D. Now, please talk to your doctor or your primary health care giver first before you take on any of this information and, start a new regime with these supplements. But these are the ones that I want you to look into, because these are the ones that altogether can make a huge, huge difference to your health. Now, I go into great detail in what we're talking about today in my course, Ultimate Celiac System, so I will pop a link below for you to check that out if you haven't already, because, there's lots of amazing information on this entire topic in Module 5 of the Ultimate Celiac System. All right, so next up is restorative sleep. So we all know we need sleep. We all know we cannot survive without sleep, but there's a difference between sleep and restorative sleep. So restorative sleep is where our body goes into that deep sleep and heals. If we don't get restorative sleep, our body doesn't heal. It's amazing, really. It can be as simple as getting a really good night's sleep, and that starts the whole kickoff of getting your body back into health. When you think of in the past when maybe you've had a cold or a flu and you need rest, your body needs to rest, and you need good sleep to be able to get better. We're exactly the same. We're exactly the same with our celiac disease, and even when you get gluten, you need to rest your body. So to be able to get back on track, restorative sleep is a big one. And then moving on, movement or exercise, you might like to call it. I like to call it movement, because not all exercise or rather not all movement sometimes can be classed as exercise. So, even just walking up and down stairs, that can be a simple movement that just gets your body, the muscles moving and the blood flow happening, and it can really help with healing your body, getting exercise in. So if you don't feel up to it, maybe just some gentle stretching or some yoga, gentle walking, things like that can be really, really great for helping your body to get back on track. Now, the next one is eating well. Now, this may seem pretty obvious and pretty simple, but what I see time and time again is people get diagnosed with celiac disease, they hit the shops and they go searching for all the different packaged gluten-free food, and they bring it all home and they think they're set because now they have access to all this delicious gluten-free food. But I want you to compare it to your previous days when you didn't have celiac disease. This is now your junk food, okay? Packaged food is not going to help your body heal. Packaged food is generally full of things like preservatives and flavorings and additives and lots of sugar and salt. So it's not exactly the ideal food for us to be eating when we're trying to get healthy nutrients back into our bodies. So I really recommend that you start what I call crowding out. Now, I'm going to pop a link below about crowding out because I explain it on one of my blogs, but I'll just give you a little overview. So crowding out is basically where you add one thing in to crowd out something else. So for example, recently I've been cutting back on my coffee intake. So in the morning, instead of having a coffee, I have a cleanse tea. So that is what we call crowding out. So instead of me saying I'm no longer drinking coffee or I'm not having 2 to 3 coffees anymore. I simply say I've crowded out my extra coffee and I'm having a cup of tea instead. It's a much more positive way of looking at, not having something. So there's no deprivation. It's just a different way of looking at what you're doing. So you might think, okay, I'm going to add in 2 fresh vegetables a day on top of what I'm already having. So what am I going to crowd out instead? So you might be having a bag of potato chips. So you might say, okay, I'm going to have an apple instead, or, something along those lines, something healthy in place of something not so healthy. So it's not about going gung-ho and, changing everything all at once. It's just about doing your best to add in more healthy food, because that's where it's at, my friends. It's all about the healthy food. I definitely eat packaged food. I love, certain treats, but it's not all the time. It's, following the 80-20 rule, where 80% of the time you eat well, you exercise, you do the right thing, and then 20% of the time you have treats and, you let your hair down. And that's real life. That's not living by calorie counting and all that type of thing. And I'm going to get into this more in another episode when we're talking about weight loss and weight gain. But in this episode, it's more about getting your body healthy and getting your villi healing. And the last one is actually positive mindset, would you believe? So your body reacts to your thoughts. So if you're thinking negatively and you're getting down on yourself and you're constantly feeling these negative thoughts towards, you now have celiac disease and you feel deprived and you can't do this and you can't do that, your body will react to that and it will start to create stress and anxiety, and that is no way to live. So it's best to try and focus on the positives. And that's one thing that I did in the beginning. I was positive and I was relieved and I was actually so happy that I'd got a diagnosis, that I now had celiac disease and that I didn't have Crohn's disease, because that was what my doctor originally said he thought it was. So I took that as, okay, we're going to be positive about this, that thank goodness it's not Crohn's disease, it's celiac disease. So you can put a spin on things. I know in life that it can be hard to do, but if you make a conscious effort to try and be positive about these things, it can really, really make a difference. So I hope that this episode has helped you and given you some ideas. And if you have any questions, please shoot me a DM over on Instagram and I'll pop a link below for that. And I will join you again next week in this short series of when you first get diagnosed with celiac disease and giving you the answers that you need to know. So thank you so much for joining me. If you enjoyed this episode and would like other celiacs to find it, please do me a favor and leave me a review and some feedback, and that will help to get the word out there about this podcast. Thanks so much for listening, and I will talk to you soon. Bye. If you enjoyed this episode, head to belindawhelan.com to get yourself a free copy of my exclusive ebook, 11 Mistakes People Make Going Gluten-Free Living with Celiac Disease.